back to the Berg podcast. Thanks for joining us today. With me, your host, Brian, is Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And special guest, Eric Jumper.
Good morning.
And Eric's in town. He actually was here yesterday with the whole crew. They were doing a little bit of work. So those of you who haven't met Eric yet, Eric's with BuildWitt. And we figured, hey, while he's here, we're going to grab him and throw him on the podcast and do a little Who's Eric Jumper. So Eric, give us a 30-second elevator pitch. Who is Eric Jumper?
I don't know if I could fit it in 30 seconds. So I'm the guy that I spend most of my time, of the BuildWitt people, I probably spend the most time here of anybody at Berg.
Yeah, you're kind of local, right?
Yeah, so I live about an hour and 10 from here.
Yeah.
It's in a little town called Kintnersville, so 20 minutes south of Easton.
Okay.
About 30 minutes from where that the Bethlehem job was.
Oh, yeah.
You guys did the mansion.
The Willer job.
The Willer job.
Yeah.
Yep. I passed that on my way to the airport every time. So I'm a little local. I've probably done, 6, 7, 8 trips to Berg. So pretty familiar with most of the guys in the field that have been here for a while. But I work at BuildWitt. My most recent title, I've had 20 different titles since I've started. But now I'm a dirt world expert, we call me. So we couldn't quite figure out how to encompass all of what I do into one title.
Well, that sounds fancy. I mean, that seems like a high expectation to live up to. Dirt world expert.
Dirt world expert.
What's the path to becoming a dirt world expert?
Well, you got to kind of invest most of your time into learning about the industry is the problem. So everybody always asks me, what do I do outside of work? Or what do you do for fun? I'm like, well, I'm doing it.
This is it.
Yeah, this is all I know how to do. So I've kind of been doing this since I was a kid. Third generation dirt world guy. So my grandfather was an operator. He just recently retired. My dad's a superintendent at a large utility and earth moving company in Atlanta. My uncle does large scale demolition work. So he's a super for a nationwide demo company. Both of my brothers did it with me for a while, and I was an operator for about 10 years before I came over to BuildWitt.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so, and that's always the interesting piece of this, right? So you're not just a guy behind a camera. You're not just a technology person. You're not just a Photoshop guy.
Yeah, I have no idea how that stuff works.
Yeah.
I've taken, I actually just looked at it yesterday. I've taken 500,000 photos between both of my cameras since I've started at BuildWitt.
Yeah.
I have no idea how they work. I have no idea how my cameras work. I just know they take a photo and I get to take the photo off the camera when I'm done.
Right.
So, and that being said, I have no idea how a media company works. I have no idea how marketing works. I just have an idea of how the industry needs to be seen and shown.
Well, and that's one of the main ideas behind how BuildWitt got started, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to accurately and in the right light portray the construction industry.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's sort of how I ended up here. Aaron was kind of looking for somebody that had an idea of how this kind of thing works, but also really understood the industry and how to best portray the industry.
Yeah.
So I think you're downplaying yourself a little bit because clearly you know how to take a picture. Because I go to sites all day and I take pictures. Ford takes pictures. They never look like the pictures that you take. We got some guys who can take pictures on our staff as well. Some of the operators. So you certainly know that piece.
It's just dumb luck.
No, I don't think so.
But
one of the questions I do have is
practice luck.
At the very beginning, which way did it go? Were you looking? And I know the story a little bit with you as an operator. But were you looking to get out? Were you already taking pictures?
So it all kind of started from, so I'm actually originally from Pennsylvania. So I grew up in the Scranton area most of my life. And when I was a kid, when I was about 11 or 12, I started cutting grass. And that turned, my dad was working for another company at the time. And he said, if you save up some money, I'll put half towards, your next big purchase. So if you want to buy a lawnmower, we'll buy a lawnmower. Well, that turned into buying a skid steer. Then it turned into buying a dump truck. And then it turned into this and that. So we ended up starting a landscaping company and went full time with it in 2015. We did that for about 4 years. And it was the whole family. And at our peak, we had 30 people. And it didn't work out very well because we were all really great at moving dirt and, landscaping activities, but none of us were really good at running a business. But amidst all of that was kind of how I got started with the photo and video thing, because I always kind of had an idea of how I wanted the image of our company to look. So I bought a drone when drones first came out. Bought myself a nice camera. And I was always, spending some time taking videos and before and after photos of our jobs and things like that. So that's kind of where it started. And then, once we got out of that, the whole family kind of, split up, moved around. Most of us went to South Carolina just to kind of get away from the winter weather, just change it up a little bit. It was pretty sporadic. It was like a light switch. Whole world just changed. So when I went down there, the job that I was working on, I spent about 2 years working at a big data center job. And the thing about that was I was doing really cool work. I was doing this really intricate, complicated work with, thousands of people packed into 10 acres. I couldn't document any of it. Couldn't show anything. I couldn't do anything. And it sucked because I was like, oh man, I really want to show what I'm doing. And I had bought a new drone when I moved down because I wanted to continue what I was doing with that as a hobby. And one night after work, I was like, I'm just going to go start taking photos of job sites around town because I want to do something. I haven't posted anything online in forever. And I started doing that more. Went around town, made friends with some guys that had little mines and quarries and pits and things like that. And I would go there on the weekends and hang out. And eventually that kind of turned into more, and I, bought a new camera again. And in the midst of all that, I had, been changing jobs and doing different things. And eventually I worked my way up to, I was basically like an operations manager for this one dirt company that I had, gotten to be pretty friendly with. And the family really liked me there. So I was doing that. And before I had gone to work there, Aaron had actually approached me about working at BuildWitt. I was like, this gig over here is a little more promising. I think this will be more fun, basically running the company and doing all this and bidding on job, basically doing everything but payroll. So it was like I was working for my family's company again. So it was kind of exciting. And I actually turned the job down in, it would have been July of 2020. He approached me about that. And, as soon as I turned the job down, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
It's like you guessed a little bit.
Yeah. So I went on with this other job, and, me and Aaron stayed in touch. And October rolled around, and it was not going well. The company wasn't giving me the assets that I needed to grow the company like they brought me on to do. And, people were quitting because the pay was low, and I was like, yeah. So something happened one day, and I was just like, yeah, all right. So I called Aaron up. I was like, hey, you still want to hire me? He's like, yep, come on down. So, that was, I called him the day before Labor Day, or the weekend before Labor Day. And then, so that would have been Friday. So then that next Tuesday, I was heading to Virginia to go on a trial trip with him. Took the week off from work. And then the following Friday, I put my 2 weeks in, and then I went to work for BuildWitt. So I started the 1st of October. So I've been here about 1.5 years now. That's been great. And all of my experience is really the reason why I'm working here. Originally it wasn't for my photos, being able to actually do something productive at the company was a benefit. So
right.
I spent most of my time here working on the media side. So getting out on job sites, taking photos, working with videos, producing video projects. And very recently have we gotten to the point where I can kind of be freed up from that. So I don't get paid to actually take photos anymore.
Right. Yeah. Now you actually get to kind of, you not only do you get to display or show off some of the work, but you kind of get to start to dig into the training side a little bit, right?
Yeah. So that's another big part of what I've been up to lately. So back in October of last year, so 2021, we had rolled out BuildWitt leaders earlier that summer. We got some feedback that we wanted more hands-on training, so actual, learning how to do things. And we said, well, let's go build a training app. So we sat down in the conference room and we went, well, how are we going to build this thing? And we had no idea at the time. And it shows in the first few videos, but we made it happen. And we got the ball rolling and generated a ton of interest. And now we're just chasing our own tail, trying to pump out as much content as we can. We brought on some really talented software people. So we've got a whole crew of full-time software developers that are building the app out, and they continue to add more components to it every day. So that's a thankless job. There's the amount of hours they've put into just building the app on top of what we've done to create the content is unbelievable. Me and Alex Ferrari were just talking about it yesterday. It's it's crazy how far we've come with the training app in 8 months. It's unbelievable. So pretty excited for that. We got a lot of stuff in the works for that thing. So I've been kind of helping out with the content on that. But a big part of what I do, like we kind of talked about, it's becoming a pretty big company. We're at 85 employees now. When I signed on, I was number 16. And we didn't hire anybody after me for like 7 months. So 16. So we very recently grew in size.
Yeah, sort of exploded here, right?
And we're on track to hire another 40 by the end of July, I think. So it's crazy. Most of those being software and media guys. So
development. Yep.
Yeah, one of the things I wonder how BuildWitt's going to deal with is you've gone through and initially you had Shell and you had you and a few other guys, and what you captured was a way to see what we were doing and understand how to tell that story.
Yeah.
And Aaron really always talks about storytelling, and that's really at the heart of what BuildWitt is in its main portion of its company. If you made it like Berg with divisions, in that division, that's what you guys are. And so one of the things I think you guys really are working on, and it's probably a focus of your role, is maintaining the authenticity of that. So as you go out, there's only so many people who are operators who can also just by luck of the draw take a picture. You know what I mean? In other words, you can be trained, but it's two different skill sets and that aren't really related and aren't necessarily running concurrently. It's not, you don't find a lot of operators who say, hey, you know what I'd like to do is do some interviews, take some pictures. You actually find the opposite. They're like, just leave me alone and let me go run my equipment.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's interesting as you guys continue to grow, because with the way, Berg grew pretty explosively over the last, well, now it's been a while, but over the last 5-7 years, we've grown pretty explosively. And, there's a lot of things that happen when you do that you have to deal with. And so that's interesting, but it's one of those things. Eric is one of the ones that I think Justin was a pretty early follower of Eric. I don't know how Justin started to know about Eric, but I don't even know that you were with BuildWitt when Justin started noticing that you were taking pictures. So I don't know how exactly that started. And I don't know that Eric knows, but Justin's always been a big fan of Eric's with seeing the pictures in it. And I think Justin is a really good photographer, but I also think being able to see the pictures that everybody takes and knowing the people has given him a little bit of a leg up, because he takes some crazy pictures as well.
Yeah, he's really talented.
One of the things we talk about a lot in the construction industry is like, people are drawn to, in certain ways, this type of work because of that instant gratification. You get to turn around, you see a job well done, you see a product that you've completed, but the telling of the story and the showing off of the cool stuff that we get to do often doesn't translate to people outside of the industry. They see the big machines, they see a building when it's done, and most people are glad they're running waterworks, right? But they don't actually understand the process. And I think one of the things that has really been great for us as an organization is as that content gets created, as the videos get displayed, as the posts get made on social media, our guys, it's good for our community because they understand who we are. But our guys, I think, really appreciate being able to say, hey, like I did that, or that's me in the machine, or I was on that project, and their family doesn't have to jump in a car and drive in an hour and a half to see, go to work day or see what the product of their labor was.
Well, you see the other piece there's, we talk about community and we talk about the guys, but I mean, the number of times I would drive by a job site with the girls, because we work a lot in Chester County. And, I'd say, like, we built this project. And the number of times I had to explain, we didn't build a building.
Right.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Did you? No, I didn't do that either. No, I can't get to what it is that I did.
Yeah.
Or
what the guys
guys
did. You don't get to see much of what we did.
We bury everything we do.
But the rest of it couldn't exist without that.
That's it. Without it. And it's it's really interesting what you've done. And it doesn't translate well. Like, that's the thing, is it is not simple to go out and take these photos. When you see And BuildWitt's not the only one. You know what I mean? There's a number of local companies right now who have really latched onto this and are using social media and pictures. And there's something about how you have to take the picture in order to get it. You were at Rolling Hills, and at Rolling Hills, it's just so expansive. And it's very difficult to figure out a way for me, and Justin says the same thing, to get a picture that you can actually see the scope. You put a machine close and you take it from a low angle, but you need something far away to see how, it's not simple. There's a lot that goes into when you click on that picture and, the guys see a picture for Berg or someone else, you know what I mean? There's a lot of contractors out there, and you see a picture, it's hard to appreciate how hard it was to get that picture, the little things. And we make jokes about it. Every time we have a BuildWitt meeting and they're going to present to us what they're going to do, and they start talking about, we're going to make this picture look, rougher, and we're going to tone it down, and we're going to use some font that will relate. And it's like, come on, guys, just take a picture. Yeah. But I know
I don't even understand some of that stuff they do sometimes.
But they're good at it. The thing
good at it.
Yeah. And like Clay and Claire, the presentation we recently got, like the amount of thought and detail that goes into things that we could never spend the time on is pretty incredible.
Well, and at the end of the day, you just have this little thing, right? Like we're working on our campaign and we're going to come out with it. Everybody's going to see it. No one's going to have any idea how much work went in behind the scenes, not even with us.
Right. Yeah.
But just with, with BuildWitt and with all the people involved to get to a 6-word phrase that's on the screen, and what it took to get there and what it is that's behind it that you don't see,
right?
But it's there, and it's the reason you notice it.
Yeah, when you see these things, you feel like it could have been slapped together, but it can't be.
Oh yeah,
it's not possible.
Yeah, the legwork that even just to set up like the interviews that we did this week.
Yeah,
I mean they had to go figure out who everybody was and what they were going to do, and they had to call everybody and do a pre-screen. And it's even more intricate now than it ever was. Like, I never used to do that stuff when I was doing interviews. Like, I would just show up and, hey, what's your story?
Yep,
let's do it. And, the day before we came out, so the Monday, this past Monday, they called everybody as soon as they got the list and the numbers. And they were calling people until like 8:00 at night.
Yeah. Wow.
So they put in like a 12-hour day before they even started coming out.
Got on the plane or
showed
up on site.
Yeah, exactly. So there's quite a bit that goes into like a 2-minute video, 3-minute video.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
I mean, every time that, for each one of us, they set up in a new location and just to keep the variety, to keep it interesting, to keep the visual,
Yeah. So the production that you guys got this week that would have been like the first time you've gotten that level of production because those two guys that are working for us now, Justin and Ben, who were with me this week, I didn't do anything for this trip. They just told me the dates that I had to be out here, and I rented the rental car and I showed up.
It's funny.
I didn't do anything.
Is literally we were in a meeting and I just, being me, just cut right to the chase. I was like, the thing is, I know you have lots of great photographers. We're going to need Eric.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, Eric doesn't really, I was like, yeah, I know, but I'm going to need Eric just because of me having a personal comfort level that I know Eric's going to see what I hope he can see.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted that. And another funny story here is, so we have a friend down the beach. They're local now, lived in DC before, and she was a broadcaster. She was on TV, had a couple kids, moved back home. And so she was going to start her own business. So we were sitting on the beach the end of last year, and I said, so what's the business you're going to start? And she said, well, I came out of, news and production, but I think I'm going to build a company I'm going to take pictures and videos for like local people. And then I'm going to give them a product that's what you would get from a media company, but I think I can do it myself because that's my background. And I was like, that's crazy. Like I know a bunch of people that are doing that because we know BuildWitt, but we know a few other people who are doing it as well. And now a year later, it's like taking off. Like it's exploding for, this market to utilize social media as a media tool is creating so many opportunities for people to go out and have these little mini media companies that then can explode as big as they want. And then you got to figure out how to control that. But it's funny. It's a completely different market. She's not in construction, but as we did it, I thought like I could easily say to her, like, I'll pay you X and you just do the piece we always talk about, take the pictures, post it on social media. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted her to be able to, be on her own, do her thing, but it's just out there. There's a lot of people.
Well, that's the problem. Like we've tried to fill like that position you're looking for, like that. It's almost like a in-house social media manager.
Right.
And it's number one, it's hard for a company, especially of this size, to fill a dedicated role for that.
Yeah.
So like just having a social media and photo or video or whatever you want to call them, it's hard to dedicate that amount of money to somebody. And then also the problem with filling that role is that if she's out on her own, she can make vastly more money. Just like, because I know a guy over sort of where I live in Bucks County. He's doing the same thing. He's doing just construction companies. He's making a killing, just doing his own thing. He works like 20 hours a week. And, I can go do the same thing, but it's just, that's all he's ever going to do.
Right.
His boundaries are limited. He has a cap unless he goes out and hires people. So there's benefits to it. There's advantages to working like that. But you can definitely have more impact working directly with the company, inside the company, even though you're not going to make so much money. It's a weird role to fill.
It is. What would your thoughts be? Because, I mean, obviously, there's anybody in Berg construction knows that this is a role Justin could potentially have someday. You know what I mean? If we build the role out, Justin can take the pictures. I think he has the desire to do it. Does he want to step out of the machine?
That's the thing.
There's a lot of things that go into it. But what did it look like to you? Like, if you go back in time, could you really would you have ever thought this is where you would be? You know what I mean? You're sitting there and you're in a piece of equipment. Ford told a story the other day and you verified it was true that Eric's the guy that takes his shoes off when he gets in the machine, right? There's guys that are so meticulous with their equipment, their trucks, their machines. It's always clean. It always gives the right presentation. But to go from being an operator and growing up that way to where you are now, could you really have ever seen that this was even a possibility, even if you wanted to do it?
So this was the dream job for me, like being able to go around and take photos and all this and that. And sitting in the machine, that was all I could think about. As soon as I started talking to Aaron, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to go do that. And every day I still want to go back to the machine because it's there. Like you said, there's nothing more satisfying than creating that finished product. So it's really just like a matter of like letting go of it, moving on to a different career, moving on to something totally different. And, there's a satisfaction in building something. There's an importance to creating infrastructure for the community. But I have to tell myself every day, like what I'm doing now is vastly more impactful than, whatever I would have done as an operator. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to do what I do. But there's just about every day I'm just like, just if I can run a dozer for like 30 minutes, I'd be fine today. You know what I mean? So, and
well,
even
the
before
Earth Mover, right? The Earth Mover.
Yeah, that thing's becoming more of a prop than anything these days. I feel so bad for it because every time I'm there, I never have time to get it in the dirt. But even so, like me going from, so like 2018 or 19, I moved from, full-time operator to mostly a foreman. And I kind of hated that too. So I was like, oh man, I thought I was still going to get the same amount of seat time and just like work from the cab. Nope, that didn't work out. So I was running the machines like half as much, but I found myself like having to work harder while like I had to be more strategic and efficient and had to plan myself better because I had to not only run the machines because we didn't have enough operators, but then as soon as I got done with that, I had to go manage the job and get the people moving. And so even before like the photo thing and where I'm at now, when I moved into that role, I was still like, oh, I can only be back in the machine, not have to use my brain today.
Yeah, well, that's what we had this past winter, and Eric had called me and said he was going to be around. And we always talk about, could you get some pictures of us doing our snow work? Yeah. And it's hard because you can't possibly plan it. You just have to happen to be here. And you happen to be here. And so I said, Eric, you'd come down. And he said, well, I'd like to run a machine. I think you like clicked one picture and then that was the end of that. I was
I definitely, I ran the 930 for like 6 hours. And I think I took like 100 photos. Yeah. So usually like this week we were here for 2 days. I took like 1,400 photos.
Yeah.
So in the course of 6 hours, I could have taken like 1,000 photos. but I sat mostly because it was like 20 degrees and I got frostbite for like the 2 minutes I was outside. But yeah, no, I mean, that was the first time I plowed snow in like 5 years. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. I only want to do it once though this year.
Snow removal is tough to capture. I mean,
it's really hard,
especially during the storm because the conditions are awful.
Oh yeah.
And snow does not do nice things for pictures. You know, like it doesn't look pretty. It's not visually appealing in pictures.
So I actually, when I was living up here, you know, with the family company and, you know, the little time that I spent working for other companies after we had shut down, I spent 7 seasons working at ski resorts in the off season. So I would run snowcats and things like that. And I always wanted to like take these awesome photos because it's really beautiful. You know, it's a very unique machine in a very unique situation. I'm like, oh, I'm going to stop right here and take an awesome photo. It's like, this is hard. I don't know if I can make this work. So, yeah, snow photos in any situation are hard. But those turned out pretty good. I was pretty excited because I had no idea what was going to happen with those photos.
Yeah, for sure. No.
Yeah, it's funny when you say about the snow, you know, dirt's the same way, and I think it's one of the most amazing things is your eye can see the picture. Like so many times, I know what the picture that Eric takes looks like. And I see it and I'm like, that's the picture right there. That's it. And then I get a camera and I don't take the picture. You know, I mean, I took a picture, but it's not that picture. Because I can't replicate it.
I mean, the problem for me and you is like we take a picture from the angle we walked up to it, right? That's almost never the right angle.
That's almost how I golf too.
Yeah, right.
You know, when I'm gonna putt, I'm just gonna putt it from exactly where I'm standing.
I stood here. It's got to go there. That's
pretty
problem
simple.
solved, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, never. Yeah, or like you know, I'm taking it from like the window of my pickup truck.
Yeah.
Also not a great angle.
Yeah. So the one, a great example of that is that same snowstorm. Let's see. So it was Andrew Giese. He was running the 544 from Ridgewood, and he was in one of the parking lots, and he had all of the piles worked down to one side, and the whole lot had like iced over at this point. So he had to like get so much speed just to get the piles moved from like, all he was trying to do is move like a bucket full of snow 50 yards. But he had to get up to like 20 miles an hour just to get enough traction to move the piles. So he would come into the piles and it would, you know, explode because it was nice, soft, fluffy snow, and it would go over the cab. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's going to be a great photo. And I couldn't get it to work to save my life. So I took like, I don't know, 50 photos just trying to make this one work. And then finally I got to the point, I was like, I'm going to give up. And then I turned around, and the photo that you have now of like the side profile of the machine and the snow, that was like the last photo I took. And none of them worked up to that point.
Yeah. Somebody has, I think
so it takes some time to get like, everybody's always like, I can't get this photo. I'm like, well, you got to do a few to get it right sometimes. It's never usually the first try.
Not the first click.
Yeah. And Paulie has, I think Paulie's the one that took it. It was a picture from, we're going back years, probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I think it was when Paulie worked for us the first time before he left and went and did other utility work. And we were at a site in Malvern, and it had snowed a lot. And I had the 250, so that's where we are age-wise. I mean, you're talking before Gary. And I was aggravated, and I was like, they let all this snow build up. They didn't clean this one little lot, and nobody remembered what it looked like. It was a new site, small site. I noted, they're like, goes down the middle, there's a speed bump somewhere, and then it like turns right.
Oh boy.
I was like, they're gonna like, I don't know what they thought they were gonna like shovel the edge and find it. I was like, we're not doing that. I can get through this with this truck. So I put it in 4 and I had a salter in it. So I made sure I was heavy. And like you said, and he has a picture that all you can see is the Berg logo on the door and snow. Because I just blasted right through the middle of it. And I got like 99% of the way through that parking lot with no issue. So
yeah, the 1%.
The 1%. The 1% might have got me.
Yeah. That's the spot will get you.
Yeah, the truck stopped quickly when I got to that 1%. 1% stopped.
Sometimes you learn the hard way.
That's it.
Sometimes you don't learn. You just do it the hard way.
You just keep doing it.
You just keep doing it the hard way.
I've learned some hard and expensive lessons in my time.
They don't let me run much equipment, but there's an old wheel loader that I use to clear the lot here at times.
Yeah.
The brakes aren't great, so you kind of just run into piles of snow.
Yeah.
It's
natural brakes.
It's great. There's not much here that I can damage. The machine's kind of old.
Think like a scraper. You don't really need brakes.
Yeah.
On a scraper.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
It'll just stop at something.
Drop the plow and So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we covered dirt, snow,
Dirt,
pictures,
snow, pictures,
BuildWitt,
software. We're all
Eric's
over the
20
place.
jobs. We're all over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. So, no, cool. We really appreciate your time, Eric.
no problem.
I know we kind of sprung this on you on the way in the door here,
Yeah, it's all good.
Thanks for taking a moment to talk with us a little bit about who is Eric Jumper. So, thanks for joining us, folks. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you again soon.